Hey everyone, I'm here playing Risk of Rain 2 on Steam Early Access. And wow, what a surprise release, right? This game was announced and released during Gearbox's presentation at PAX, where they talked Borderlands 3 afterwards, but this was unexpected. I've known that Risk of Rain 2 was in development. I did not know that Gearbox was going to be publishing it, so they just kind of put it out into the wild as soon as they announced it, and that's pretty great. For an early access game, this is one of those things where it doesn't feel like it. For those who haven't played the original Risk of Rain, that was a 2D game. So we're seeing a monumental shift here with Risk of Rain 2 being in 3D. And so the goal of the game is to reach its finite ending, but getting there is not so easy, as you can't save, there's permadeath, because this is a roguelike. And the goal of each level is to kill things and get experience. That experience will level you up, and with leveling up, you get more health to absorb more damage, and then you also get more hit points on enemies for dealing damage to them. So you're not getting better guns or better skills, you're just getting more damage added to what they do to enemies. They'll also drop cash, so you can use this cash to open up boxes that are shooting about a level, or other, in some cases, just give you more cash, and then you equip them. You also gain the ability to use skills that are on the Q key. So in this case, I have the choice between wings or a black hole. I meant to keep the wings, but I swapped out for the black hole. So you'll see me doing some weird jumping later because I thought I still had the wings. The playable character roster is the same, but it looks like they're going to be adding a whole lot more. So the process of unlocking them just happens during the course of play, but there is specific requirements for each one, so it's just a matter of knowing what that is, and there's a logbook that actually details all of these things to you. So if you're looking to unlock a specific character or just to unlock the next one, there is a logbook that just tells you how to do it. So the levels themselves are handcrafted, but the item placement, the overall structure of a level and layout will change with each run. Hence kind of the roguelite part of this. So ideally, you want to try to maintain the difficulty. As like the first game, there's a ticking timer that goes up, but then you're also tying that time into what difficulty it is. And you want to get through as much of the game as possible without the difficulty rising too fast or too hard, but you also have to be of an adequate level to really take on the fight that you're about to engage in, because every level ends with a boss fight like this. So you have to wait for the teleporter to charge up, and then you also have to defeat the boss. Those are the two requirements to move on. I did not level up very much here, so I'm kind of having some trouble. But you'll see that I defeat the Beetle Queen and immediately die in the same breath. Then I tried some co-op with a friend, and this is actually a different experience. It's a lot more hectic. There's a lot more enemies that kind of results in this. So you'll see here that we have reached the end of our new starting level, and now we just need to keep fighting until the teleporter is charged up. You'll see that we've got some turrets, healing drones, and a guard to help us along the way. It just feels good, like mouse and keyboard feels really natural here. And I talked about how it was keyboard or controller in the first game, and it just never quite felt right. Like, this fixes that problem hands down. It being in a 3D space and being able to use mouse and keyboard, like, it works. It works as it should. So now we've got the teleporter up. I'm shooting my drones because they just look like enemies, and we get our items, get the last bit of items. Because one thing to note here is that any cash that you have on you in a particular level does not carry over. It gets wiped. So it's actually in your best benefit that you go around a level and open up every box that you can and use up all your money before moving on. These teleporters are... they're evil in where they're placed, because I feel like I have passed by a teleporter and I didn't see it because it was like hidden behind a rock or something. Like, watching the gameplay back again, like, I see it the first time, but it's so easy to miss. The counter to that, at least, is like, hey, we spent time leveling up and we got more powerful as a result. So your core abilities are never going to change throughout. It's all about the perks. Perks are really varied. You'll get things that give you double or triple jump, things that increase your critical hit chance. Ones will let you fire a rocket every now and then. Some of them change your cooldowns. This one gives you 2 extra charges of your utility skill. The utility is on the Q versus the abilities of mouse 1, mouse 2, shift, and R. The sprint that you can do is a toggle, and that's really convenient. I've been considering remapping the sprint key because control is kind of a reach for me as far as like my pinky goes. And or I don't want to take my hand off W, A, S, and D to press that button. Like, it's just kind of awkward. So I'm thinking about putting on like mouse 3 or something, and seeing if that changes things for me, or maybe like E or just something else that's not used, or F, some combination there. And kind of just want you to take in this combat because it's just really fun. You have this constant fear of dying, and like, you know that you're fragile and you've only got one life to reach the end, but having you get stronger with each level, it just empowers you to keep going forward and not worry about any kind of risks that may, come as a result of this. So this is another perk where it drops a war banner that increases my health and damage output. So it's good for you to be in this bubble and attacking things because you'll have that added protection and extra hit chance. Partners are also benefited from this who stand in there. So I think we were like really close to the teleporter, but we just couldn't see it. This kind of is the running theme of my playthrough, so I've started to get better about like looking behind really tall objects to see if it's there, because that seems to be the trick. Anything that you bring to life or enable a turret for, the kill will credit to you and you'll get that experience. This is a fun game. Like, it's, you know, you'll see that these runs can take a really long time. So there's definitely an investment, since you can't like save your progress where you're at and come back to it later. But there is this inherent like, oh, you know what, just one more. You know, and that in itself is kind of speaks to the game's qualities, because you don't want to stop playing it. There is no real permanence outside of the characters that you'll unlock. You'll get more information about like a particular perk or boss or enemy that you encounter that gets added to your logbook, but you don't ever like start a deployment onto these planets with like more health from the get-go. Like everyone is level set with each run, and it's just about reaching the end and like getting multiples of items and kind of abusing it in a lot of ways, because the drops are random. So if you get 10 of something that creates a chance of shooting a missile, then you're just gonna be shooting missiles pretty much all the time. You know, like every 5th shot is gonna be a missile or something, you know, and whatever, like that's great. That's kind of what they want from this. So since we missed the teleporter from the get-go, you know, now we're just leveling up and looking for it and, you know, doing some damage along the way. It's disappointing because the only reason this is bad is because we move on to the hard difficulty, which wasn't necessarily necessary, and it really kind of hurts our progress later on. See, I didn't do the thing where when you jump from a great height you roll to negate the fall damage. Luckily it wasn't too impactful on me, but all the same, it would have been nice. So you should try to accrue as much money as you can, but then spend it also as soon as you get enough. If you get up to like $500, you're not doing it right, because you'll see that there are areas that only items are like $100. So you should be opening up caches for $100 each and getting whatever perks come inside. We eventually find the teleporter and move on to this level. So this is the 3rd level in our run, and we're at 21 minutes. Now, like I said, a lot of that time was poorly spent on trying to find the teleporter, and the same happens here too. If you've got a keen eye, you'll actually spot it before we get to it. The different biomes have like a real, not only like atmosphere, but they all have like their own attitude. And while the 2D art was incredible, I never like got these emotions from the levels until I started playing this. Risk of Rain 1 had a lot of these like industrial platforms, or would have like more natural platforms, and it wasn't until this level where that started to come into play. Like I felt like the first couple of levels are just natural structures and you don't get these platforms to stand on. One thing to note about the multiplayer is that they've made some really big improvements to it. You don't have to use an IP address to connect to your friends. You know, and for a lot of people who've played multiplayer games before, you know, more seamless integration was added or presented, it wasn't a big deal, but it was a hassle and it was more trouble than it was worth in some cases. So now they actually have it like as a bullet point, as a feature of Risk of Rain 2, is that it just uses Steam and you're automatically in with your friends. And that's honestly great. Like, removing any kind of obstruction that, you know, gets in the way of playing with your friends is always going to be to your benefit. So it's really great that they've done that. Wink, wink. You might see it. These, you know, very hard difficulties, you know, coming up on 25 minutes now, closer to insane. Like, this is tough. The damage that we were doing isn't doing enough anymore because we haven't quite leveled up enough to match the difficulty level. Put an item in the recycler, so now I sprint faster. See, I've got like 600 bucks, and it's just too much. Now I get a delayed heal after taking damage. Now I can throw sticky bombs occasionally. So now we're kind of frantic to find the teleporter, but we eventually do. And yeah, pick up Risk of Rain 2. It's awesome. I'll put a link to the game into the description, and thanks for watching.